Our top focus at this hour, leaders of the Quad group of countries, the United States, Japan, Australia and India will be holding a virtual meeting today. The announcement has been made by the Indian Foreign Ministry, US President Joe Biden, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida will take part in the meeting, which was previously unannounced. The MEA statement said that the four Quad partners will exchange views and assessments about important developments in the Indo-Pacific. The Indian statement made no mention of the Ukraine crisis, but the four leaders could discuss the fallout of Ukraine's war on Asia-Pacific. The statement comes a day after India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. It was not immediately clear on whose request the meeting was called. None of the Quad countries had flagged it earlier. The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison's office confirmed the virtual meeting with his Quad counterparts. And according to local media reports in Japan, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is likely to be discussed. And the four Quad partners will verify their coordination. The grouping is seen as a barrier against China. The meeting follows a September summit of the Quad leaders in Washington. Quad foreign ministers met in Australia early last month. They pledged to deepen cooperation to ensure that the Indo-Pacific region was free from coercion. Quad leaders are set to hold a summit in Japan in May. For more details on what we can expect from this virtual summit, we are now being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibil, for more. Siddhant, thanks for joining us. Tell us about some of the expected outcomes and subjects of discussions at Quad this year at the virtual summit. Of course, Russia-Ukraine will dominate the discussion, as we understand.
Well, it is a fast-paced geopolitical development which we can see in the aftermath of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And Quad is something that has essentially come out of the blue because we know the announcement just came. There is one in-person Quad summit which is expected to happen in Japan, but there was no whiff of any kind of virtual summit. So now this summit obviously will be focusing on Indo-Pacific because these four countries have been talking about how to, of course, make sure that there is a rules-based Indo-Pacific. But nonetheless, it is the Russian invasion of Ukraine that is going to dominate the agenda. We know just a few weeks ago, the foreign ministers of all four countries had met in person in Melbourne, and we saw the pressers there. There, of course, we saw divergences when it comes to issues like Russia, issues like Ukraine, and including issues like Myanmar as well, though all the four countries were on the same page when it comes to dealing with the Chinese aggressiveness. We can expect some kind of statement by the Quad leaders, not only a joint statement, but each country issuing some kind of information or statement from each capital. So that is something that will be keenly noted because when it comes to joint statement, when the foreign minister's joint statement came, there was no mention of the Ukraine crisis, primarily because, remember, one Quad member country, that's India, has close relationship with Russia, even though there is high-level engagements with all three countries, including with Washington, and Washington is very, very keen that India takes a strong stance against Moscow amidst this invasion.
Yes, Siddhant, that actually brings me to my next question. As you just mentioned, India has strong relations, bilateral relations with both Russia, especially in areas of defense, and of course the US continues to remain a strong ally. So how will India present its stance as it's at this virtual summit? Will it be towing the line?
Well, it's a tightrope walk for India, frankly speaking. We have seen how there have been conversations both with Moscow and with Washington at the highest level. The Indian Prime Minister speaking to the Russian President two times. The first time was a week ago when the Russian invasion started. That time the Russian side briefed on what is the main intent of their so-called military operation, which of course is an invasion of Ukraine. And of course yesterday, which was a call made at the request of India, primarily to give a safe passage for Indians stuck in conflict zones like Kharkiv. Now, talking about this tightrope walk, Washington has been in conversation. In fact, just a few hours ago, Donald Lu, who is a State Department diplomat, was briefing the Senate, in which he talked about how the matter has been taken at the highest level. There are, of course, fears of the CAATSA sanctions because of India getting S-400 from Russia. Earlier, there was seen as a softening of stance by the Congress, but unlikely that this is going to happen now. But largely there has been an evolution in the Indian stance. We have seen, while India has been abstaining at the United Nations Security Council and the General Assembly as well, India has gradually moved towards reaffirming its commitment for the territorial integrity of countries and dropping one line, and that line was the legitimate security interest of the country. That, of course, means Russia.
Right, absolutely. Siddhant, thanks for these inputs. Stay with us on this broadcast. We'd like to get your inputs on India's stance in this conflict as we tell our viewers about the next big update. Now, India has rejected Russian claims of Indian students being held hostage by Ukrainian forces. India's response comes hours after Russia claimed that some Indian students in Kharkiv were taken hostage by Ukrainian security forces. Kharkiv has witnessed intense Russian bombardment over the past 2 days following the death of an Indian student in the city. India has stepped up efforts to get its citizens out of Kharkiv. A large number of Indian nationals have been evacuated from Ukraine in the last few days. The Russian Ministry of Defense had claimed that Indian students in Kharkiv were taken hostage by the Ukrainian security forces. Russian officials stated that students were held in a strategic area to slow down the advance of Russian forces. He also added that Ukrainian forces were using Indian students as body shields. This claim has also been made by Russia at the United Nations, while Ukraine has called it a blatant lie. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs has clarified that it has not received any report of a hostage situation regarding Indian students in Kharkiv. India has, in fact, requested the support of Ukrainian authorities in arranging special trains. According to India's MEA, India has been currently coordinating effectively, that too, with countries in the region for the evacuation of Indians from Ukraine. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry also rejected the Russian assertions. A statement from the ministry said that students from India, Pakistan, China and other countries couldn't leave because of indiscriminate shelling and barbaric missile strikes by the Russian armed forces. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.